Hello, students and parents and staff. This is your coronavirus update. It is Thursday, May 14th. The latest in South Dakota includes that we have a total of 43 deaths. There are currently 85 people being hospitalized. Right now, we have 1,312 active cases. But we do have more people that are recovered than the ones that are in active cases right now, so that is positive. If you look at these graphs, this is how many new cases there are every day. So it was going up and then down again, and I don't know what happened here for a week, but it went up pretty steeply and then it's come down again from there. So we'll have to see how this continues to go, but that's more for new cases. In the last couple weeks here, we've had more. But then if you look at the deaths, there are not very many. And then, yeah, that has continued to go up too. There are days where there's been as many as 5 deaths. But some days we've still had where there's only, where there aren't any deaths. Okay. And then other news locally, Falls Overlook Cafe is going to open back up. We have a lot of places that are opening back up, different restaurants and bars and stores. And we'll have to see what that does to our number of cases. If we start to open back up and that we aren't doing too well, they'll probably put some stricter social distancing guidelines in place, but maybe keep it open for as long as they can. I don't know what happened here, but it just kind of switched to another story. We'll move on though. All right. In U.S. news, the coronavirus cases are going down in about half of the U.S. states, but they said that as the states open back up, it might not be something that continues to be the case. About 1.4 million people have died, and more, or not have died. 1.4 million people have been infected, and 85,000 have died. So what that means is that is less than, that is less than 10%, but that is still a pretty high percentage. But that also is not considering the people that probably have it and have no idea that they have it. So probably there are a lot more than 1.4 million people that have had the coronavirus and recovered and don't have any idea about it. And so the actual percentage might be much lower. The virus is still spreading. Some places are not staying at home. They're opening back up again, and there's mixed feelings about how good that is or how that's going to work. Also in the US, here is the graph of new cases. If you see here, it does look like it's starting to go down just little by little here. And if we look at the deaths, that one is a little bit harder to read here. Looks like the lows are getting lower, but the highs also seem to be getting higher. So kind of hard to tell you. We'll have to wait and see. And then here, this is some US news. This happened in New York City. There was a guy that took some cereal and he dumped it out and a bunch of milk. And a lot of people are very upset about this because he's making people that do work on the subways have to work harder, and a lot of people that have to do that cleaning work have passed away in New York City. And so it's very frustrating for those people. In the world, so there are 450,000-ish cases. And of those cases, we have well over 1 million of them. So we've got about a third of the cases that there are. For deaths, there have been 300,000 deaths. Again, we've had, I mean, not quite a third, but almost a third, maybe about a fourth of those cases. And then recovered, there are 1.7-ish million that have recovered. So that's 200,000 that are closed. But that there's still 250,000 that are still infected. So those people that are still sick, we don't really know what's going to happen there. Most of them are in mild condition, which is very good. 98% are most likely going to recover just fine, but there are 2% here that might not recover. Since they are in critical condition, they're more at risk. So if you look at this graph, this one looks, well, if you look at these statistics, this looks better. If you look at this graph, this is a little bit rough. So this is the death rate. The death rate when this first started of the people that we knew had the virus was up to 40%. And then it did go down quite a bit. And then since then, it's been up to 22%. And now it's kind of down toward that 15%. Again, that's just of the people that we know have it. So it's kind of hard to tell for sure. But that's what we're kind of looking at. If you do look at this, it does look like we've kind of flattened the curve. At least it's not increasing as much as we thought it was going to, where this just continued to go up and up and up until a whole bunch of people were infected. And then a quick down. But there are still quite a lot of new cases every day. So that's something that something to watch out for. But this does look like it's flattened a little bit, which is good. If we look at the number of deaths, again, that's kind of hard to see. Seems like it goes up and then maybe it's going to go down. May 4th, I don't know, for whatever reason, was a much better day than a lot of other days for not as many deaths. But hopefully this here continues to go down and it just ends like here in June, and then we are able to have not very many deaths after that, but we'll have to see. And the last news story that we're going to look at today is the one about 5 problems we aren't really talking about because of the coronavirus. One of them is an arms race. What they mean by arms race is not the arms that are on your body, but instead weapons. So they think that we might have countries starting to make more weapons. These are really, really deadly weapons, and some of the weapons are not going to leave a very nice world for us if we start using them. There's also some more tension with a country that we don't always get along with very well, Iran. That's in the Middle East, and we're not really able to come to an agreement with them on some things, and so we're not able to get along very well with them. There's also been some conflict between the country of Israel and some countries around Israel, and so we're hoping that they can get along and come to an agreement, Israel and the Palestinian country. But if they don't come to an agreement, or if they do something here, like if Israel makes a certain decision, they won't come to an agreement. And that could be very bad for both sides because it will just perpetuate the violence and the war. And Brexit. Brexit means Britain's exit. It's talking about the European Union, which is where a whole bunch of countries have the same type of money, and they work really well with each other and they trade with each other. But Britain was feeling like they were picking up all the slack on some other countries, and so they didn't want to be a part of that union anymore. We're not quite sure how the pandemic is going to change that because the economy is going to be really, really damaged after this, but we'll have to see. The last thing that we're not really talking about, but it's a big deal, is the climate change. And it says that there's some, like, that this pandemic is kind of like a testing ground. People trying, maybe people hoping that we can continue to live like the pandemic is still happening, almost for the sake of creating a cleaner world. How they're wondering how feasible is it for us to do some of these things that we've started to do for the pandemic. All right, so that's everything that I wanted to talk about for today. You have a wonderful day. It is May 14th. Hopefully during the session you were able to let us know what you are thinking about these different things. If not, at the end of the session here, you can go to your opinions and share what you thought about the news, and have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time.